Hey, what is up, fellow addicts? Welcome back to the channel. We are wrapping up the Bridgestone line today with the Tour BX. Let's dive right in. All right, guys, if you really like this content, if you're new here, we have a couple ways you can support the channel. The first one, of course, being you can join our membership. It's only $1 a month, just kind of helps the channel out. You can do that by, it's the join button next to the subscribe button. Also, another thing you can do as well is I do have an eBay page. The link is in the description. What I do is I sell all kinds of interesting things, but really the biggest thing is golf balls. I sell sleeves of golf balls on there. If you ever want to try out a golf ball and you don't want to pay that full price, we've kind of got this store growing, and essentially you can buy a sleeve on there. I usually cover the shipping in there also as well, but there's a link in the description for that. And I just added the entire Bridgestone lineup. So by the time you see this review, there will be, except the RX, excuse me, because I got those in a trial pack, but the other ones, I have 3 sleeves of each. So if you want to try any of these from the reviews we've done, you can try them via that way, and it'll save you a little bit of money. You don't have to spend that full $50 a dozen. So you check into that if you will. All right, so we've gone through the entire Bridgestone lineup. There's been some ups, there's been some downs, there's been some okay stuff. I'm kind of ready to be done with it, to be honest with you, but not because Bridgestone's bad or anything, but it's just these golf balls all have felt and acted so similarly that essentially what's happened is they're starting to kind of overlap and run together. Like, I'm trying to remember back a couple weeks and I'm like, which one spun a little higher, which one? And I can't, it's just tough because they're all really close. I will touch on that a little bit in the conclusion thoughts, but let's go ahead and just dive into the price point of this one. It's $49.99, just like the other ones. Here at Golf Ball Addict, we don't like spending $50 on a dozen of golf balls, so it's not going to get mentioned in the terms of value score, but that's kind of normal. I mean, it's actually pretty cheap compared to the Pro V1 and Chrome Soft and some of those other ones, but it's still a lot of money. I know Bridgestone has a lot of patents, but it is what it is. You got to pay the tour players. I get it. Now, this one is intended for swingers over 105 miles per hour, and it is designed to be the more distance model. So Bridgestone has 4 tour golf balls, 2 for under 105 mile per hour, 2 for over, and 2 that are spinning models, and then 2 that are distance models respectively on each side. This is the distance model for over 105. So I really would expect my numbers, in theory, they should be the worst out of all of them. I shouldn't get a lot of spin with this one. It's designed to be a low spin ball. I shouldn't get a ton of distance with it. It's pretty firm. I don't swing that fast. So we'll see exactly how it goes, but let's dive into the design of the golf ball. All right, I do love the Bridgestone logo. The red number up there indicates, of course, that it is a distance model. We talked about that in the other ones. Blue indicates spin, red indicates distance. Coming around on the side here, it is an interesting alignment tool as far as the design, but as we've covered, it's just not, that's what we discovered, it's just not really big. You can't see it when you line up over your ball. It doesn't do a good job of actually being able to line your ball up. It's useless in that regard. But Bridgestone did launch this mindset this year, which is this right here. I'll show it down here as well. This is designed to essentially, they do want you to use it for putting. I don't think it works great for putting, but as far as the mindset itself, it actually works kind of okay. I mean, the idea of getting your mind in the right set, if you're actually someone who struggles with, maybe you got buddies drinking in the back or laughing, having a good time, and you get your mind wanders, this is good for that because you can put it down on drives or putts and focus, you know, red line, yellow line, green line, you know, focus on the target, focus on the line to the target, and then focus on the ball. It's a good thing to do, but I hope they kind of expand on it in the future. So that's kind of where I'm at with the design. You know, there are these dimples that continue to give us issues with durability. They have an interesting dimple design, and it's kind of caused some issues. Everyone's kind of agreed on that. So I kind of wish that was a little better. So overall, it's not a bad design, but there's definitely some room for improvement here and there. I think maybe they're trying to be a little too different at times. But let's go ahead and get out to the chipping and putting green. Let's see how we do out there. Yeah, not bad. You know, we just got done testing the Wilson a second ago, and the Wilson was one of the best ever, and so maybe that's altering it a little bit. I love the feel. The feel is phenomenal. It's buttery. It's crisp. It's exactly the vibes I got from that Wilson staff I just tested. Really love that a lot, but it did not spin very much. Okay, a lot better on that one for sure. That had some really bitey checkup. I'm talking rattlesnake checkup. Yeah, not bad, but again, there's that firm release. You can kind of see it. When it hits, I mean, it has a lot of spin. It acts like it does when it comes up, but once it hits the turf again, it really releases hard. So the spin isn't bad per se, but it's just, it's not as good as some of the other tour balls. Really loved what I got out of that. We're gonna first of all try to get it to go a little bit left. Yeah, no problem at all, actually. Ooh, get in the hole, not bad. Okay, so it's got some spin. Like I said, it's not that these don't have spin, it's just that compared to their counterparts, you know, their counterparts are some of the most spinning golf balls I've ever tested. Oh yeah, that's just phenomenal. I opened the face there to try to hit a cut. Okay, so with the X model, I expect it to be a little firmer, but you know, when it came to the wedge, it wasn't. So I don't know, we'll find out here. Yeah, I mean, it feels exactly like almost all the other Bridgestone balls, you know. I mean, it was really nice. I'm glad it went in the hole, but it's very soft, very kind of more of a dead feeling. It is buttery, it's smooth, but I mean, normally an X model golf ball would be click loud. I know the mallet putter here is going to help with that, but still, I mean, it's very consistent. I don't think I got it there that time, but still not a bad putt. Really good roll, even though I mishit the crap out of it. It still rolled really well. All right, last one. Come on, let's do another one. Let's get 2 in. Nah, it's way too outside. Never hit the breaking point. But again, I mean, it's just so consistent. Bridgestone so far, what I've noticed from testing the wedges and the putter, it's just really consistent. Regardless of which ball you play, they all have this really soft, butter type feel, which they should. They're a tour ball. They all roll really consistently. They all have a true roll. And again, I understand that that's just kind of like, okay, they all have that, but they should. You'd be surprised how many tour golf balls I test that don't. They're just okay at it. If you're gonna spend 50, 60 bucks a dozen, you expect it to have really good consistency, and so far, these have. All right, so now we got the blade putter, you know, older style putter. This has gotta be louder for sure. I mean, it's gotta be. Nope, unbelievable. Really got to give Bridgestone some credit there. I mean, you know, an old style blade putter, normally very loud with other golf balls. It just continues to sound and feel the same, regardless of whether I have a thick 20-pound mallet putter that's just a huge chunk of metal or a really, you know, skinny, sexy blade with barely any there. It feels and rolls and acts consistently the same, and that's really phenomenal. Not bad, feels good. That was actually a miss hit and it still forgave me. One more time, y'all. Ah! Yeah, I hate to beat a dead horse, guys. I know I'm probably repeating myself and I'm so sorry, but it really, I mean, that's, if someone asked me like, hey, how would you describe Bridgestone around the green? I'd say consistent. You know, they all feel consistently the same, whether you're pitching, putting, mallet, you know, I mean, a blade style wedge, you know, fat wedge, regardless. It's just really consistent regardless. No, it's not a 10 out of 10 masterpiece by any means, but it's a 9 out of 10 really darn good. And the fact that it stays that way throughout, it's hard not to be impressed. So when it comes to the feel across all golf clubs, the X somehow is a step up, which is really weird because the XS is supposed to be softer. It's supposed to be fluffier. It's supposed to have a little bit more forgiveness compared to the X model. I just did not feel like that was the case at all. This golf ball has a very professional feel to that. And what I mean by that is just, you know, you imagine, let's say you go to a really nice golf course and you get a caddy, right? You could get 1 of 2 guys. You could get the fun guy who, you know, is explosive, springy, cracks jokes, you know, he's laughing, having a good time, you know, being silly the whole time, right? And then you also could get the guy who maybe he's a military guy and he's an amazing caddy, but he's very professional. He's buttoned up. Yes, sir. No, sir. Like, that's kind of what this reminds me of. It's just a professional feel. It springs off the club well, but it's not like silly in a way where like I was smiling like, oh my goodness, you know, this is crazy. It's just a consistent, yes, I'm here. Yes, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm about, son. That type of feel. And I really enjoyed it a lot. So it's a step up. Now, it's not as good as either of those RXS or RX models I hit. I think it's still a step underneath that, but it's definitely a step above what we had before. So all the Bridgestone golf balls feel really good in one way or another. It's just preference. And so far, this one's my 3rd favorite out of them, but it is a step up over the XS for sure. Miss hits, you know, definitely let me know, but they were a lot smoother. You know what I mean? A lot smoother. Whereas the other one, I felt like there was a little rattle in the hands with the XS, which again, weird. It's softer. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the case. Sometimes when golf balls change their models from year to year, sometimes you'll have weird things happen like this. It's not uncommon. All right, we're going to do the same thing we did when we tested the under 105 models. We're going to do a direct comparison. So in these numbers, when you see them, the first number you see is going to be the X, which is this one right here, and then there's going to be a slash. The second number will be the XS, which is the one we tested before that. So this kind of gives a direct comparison. So let's start with the 50-yard pitch. 7,227 on your spin, which is awesome. That's just slightly below my average, and it's right in line with what I got with the RX and the RXS. But as you can see, 6,307 is what I got with the XS, and that's That's insane. Now, granted, I did make a slight adjustment in my swing just to try to push my swing out a little bit more. I've kind of gotten into this slight little pull, just a slight pull where I'm on the left side of the green, so I'm trying to push it out more. So there might be a little bit of difference in that. But boy, almost 1,000 RPM doesn't seem right. So I had a lot of issues with the XS not spinning, and the problem I had with that is that the XS was a spinning model and it wasn't spinning. And it's like, well, you know, if you're a car, it's got to be able to drive. You know what I mean? If you're a bird, you need to be able to fly. Like, it's just, you know, if you're a spinning model, you need to be able to spin. It's just, I don't know, it's just basic stuff. So it kind of frustrates me now knowing this one spins almost 1,000 RPM higher. But let's get into the 9-iron here. We're looking at a 1.31 smash factor, which is the lowest I've gotten of the Bridgestone balls so far, but I expect that with the next model, it's firmer. 139.4, so I got about the same as I got with the RX and the RXS, but as you can see, the XS model really just jumped off the club. I got 8 yards further with the XS. Same thing with the total distance. Ball speed, now see, this is where it gets interesting. The ball speed's a mile an hour faster on the XS, but the distance was so crazy, and I guarantee you, yep, if you look at that spin there, 6,818 compared to 6,007. So that's a pretty substantial difference. And, you know, I mean, the reality is that you can see the 20 compared to 24.3. The 24.3, some of that could be from pushing my swing out, but not 4 degrees. The XS is looking worse by the second. Because the thing is that, yes, I got another 8 yards with it, but I talked about this in the last video. It's really easy to get distance if you don't have any spin. If you take all the spin away from a golf ball, then yeah, you can have all kinds of distance. You can turn your 9-iron into a 4-iron, you know, and just waylay at it. It's just, there is a reason spin exists. There's a reason spin's so important, and it's important to get balance. Do I need my 9-iron to go 148 yards? I don't. That's a 7-iron for me usually. It's a little crazy. I know I've gotten a little faster, but I would much rather have a golf ball like this. Take away that 8 yards, give me an extra 1,000 RPM of spin. That's more like what I'm looking for. So maybe I'm understanding why Tiger switched to the X model. I don't know. We'll see, but let's keep going here. Let's start with the 7-iron. Smash factor 1.41, which is right in line with what I got with the XS. 166.9 compared to 173.9. 168.1 compared to 177.3. 118.8 compared to 119.9. And then there it is right there, the spin. I mean, that's insane. There's a 1,200 RPM difference between the 7-iron spin, between the XS and the X, and that is utter nonsense. Like, that's insane. Now again, me slightly pushing my swing out and maybe getting a little, you know, more spin on it, maybe a little more square hit. Yeah, maybe that accounts for 200 or 300 RPM. Maybe. I don't know. 1,200? 1,200? No, I mean, that's insanity. Again, the XS by the second is looking worse and worse. Let's get into the 5 hybrid here. We have a smash factor of 1.44, which again is right in line with the XS. 196.2, 198.9. But look at the difference between those two. I want you to look at the difference between carry distance, which is about maybe 1.5 yards further on the XS, and then look at the difference between the total rollout on the distance. It's like a 6-yard difference, which we'll get to the spin in just a moment. 132.3, 131.7, and again 1,100, almost 1,200 again RPM difference between the spin of the two models. My goodness gracious, I'm not sure what to think about that. 13.2 compared to 14.9. Again, I got a nice high launch with the X. Every time I mention a number, the X rises up in my rankings and the XS goes down a spot. So not looking good here. But real quick, I do want to introduce a new segment called How Far Will It Go? How far will it go? All right, so in this segment, what I do is I basically take my 5 hybrid and I swing for the fences. I really put everything I've got into it, and I see what is the max I can really get with this shot. And take a look at this one right here. Over here, okay, right here. As you can see from this one right here, a lot of distance. 216, almost really the same I would get with a driver, which is kind of interesting. But I also got the swing speed up to like 97 or something like that. pretty insane when you think about it, but actually this golf ball does have a lot of power behind it. If you're someone who swings fast, you can get a lot of juice out of it. Some people tell me the reason they don't want to switch from a Pro V is they're like, well, I know distance, you know, I want to get the bet. Trust me, you're not going to have any issues with distance when it comes to these Bridgestone balls. If anything, there's been small issues here and there, but with the Bridgestone balls, distance has not been an issue at all. So really impressive. All right, and we're back. So let's go ahead and dive into, of course, the final, which is the driver. Looking at a smash factor of 1.46 compared to 1.43, so we actually did better. 231.3, 239.5, 144.8, and then a lot more spin, 2664 compared to 2393, and then it launched a little lower, but not much. Still a mid-launch, which is really good. You know, I still actually prefer the numbers of this, and you might be saying, well, you got 3 yards further with the other one. Yes, but again, it comes back to that spin, right? Yes, I'm getting more spin with this golf ball, and I know on driver, spin isn't always what you want because it's going to balloon up in the air and you're going to lose some distance. But I will take the 3 yards average lost on my driver to gain spin for the other clubs we've talked about, to get an extra 1,200 RPM from a 7-iron, to get an extra 1,200 RPM from a 5 hybrid, to get an extra 900 from a 9-iron, all that stuff. Like, I will gladly trade 3 yards without even a hesitation in my mind. Here you go. Done deal, sucker. To get that type of spin, because now I feel like my game is more complete opposed to, okay, yeah, I have a distance ball that goes forever, but I can't really stop it on the green. But hey, I get an extra 3 yards when I really pipe it. Heck yeah, let's go. No, not about that. Much more of a complete golf ball. Let's talk about the durability real quick. You know, it's the same as the XS. It survived for the most part. You can definitely get around out of it. But when you feel it, this is after about like 80 to 90 shots. When you feel it, I mean, you can feel some scratches in there, you can feel some scrapes in there, and I wouldn't trust putting it anymore. And so I kind of expect it to last longer than a round because there's a lot of golf balls I've tested that have, but it's okay. It's like an 8 out of 10. You know, it's good. It's good. There's room for improvement, but it's good. It still did better than the RX and the RXS models. All right, so conclusion here. I understand why Tiger switched to the X. The X is a much more complete ball. Now, granted, the RXS or the XS and the X are not intended for my swing speed. You know, I'm swinging the driver at like 99 mile an hour, 98 mile an hour, somewhere there's where I try to average. This is intended for over 105. So I understand that there's a little bit of discrepancy there. But the reality is this golf ball wanted to spin, and that's huge. When you're talking about thousands of RPM difference between clubs, it's the difference between night and day. It's the difference between throwing a dart right next to the hole and having one roll to the back. It's a much better golf ball. I think it feels better than the XS. I think it comes off the club hotter than the XS. I love the spin. It's way better than the XS. You know, I mean, there's other little things that the XS might beat it on, you know, as far as, you know, around the green or stuff like that. But the reality is, as far as a complete golf ball, this one is definitely a leg up. And where it kind of puts Bridgestone's in a weird spot, because now essentially I've got the RX and the RXS, which are 2 really good models, and I've got the X, which is a really good model, and I don't know what to do with the XS. I really don't. I know some of you have reached out and said, like, oh, are you sure maybe it was a mistest? I didn't feel like it was a mistest. I mean, it is possible. I am human. There's a human element to this, and there's always human error, but I mean, again, 1,200 RPM difference. You know, I mean, if it was like 400 RPM difference, and you could say, well, maybe he just had an off day, maybe. But there ain't no way I went out there and just like had it. No, it's just not possible. All right, so as I mentioned before, I have put some sleeves of golf balls on there. If you haven't been on the eBay store in a while, you can check out the link in the description. I've got all kinds of stuff on there, and I am adding a bunch of stuff daily. I've got some used golf balls on there. I've got all kinds of sleeves coming up. I think at this point I'm just going to bundle the Chaos and the Smart Core, since they're so cheap anyway. I'm just going to bundle them as a deal and get them out. I'm going to start doing some clearance stuff. So be sure you keep checking the page regularly. You might find a deal or something. But buying that stuff does help the channel out. It definitely does. Adds to the pot. Every little bit helps. I appreciate you guys. I love you. As always, keep watching, keep saving, keep learning. I'll see you soon. Next up, we have the entire cut lineup, so I'm really excited about that.